According to the education you get when you're small, you will grow up with true ambition and respect from one and all. But in my days of school, they teach me like a fool. The things that teach me I should be a block-headed mule. They tell the pussy and the fishes walked long ago, and now we resting and tame. Solomon Gandhi was born on a Monday. The Lion's King.
This Sunday on episode 27 of Ion Dependency, reality radio at its best.
Known as Social Workers Corps, probation officers provide an important link between offenders and the community, helping them to rehabilitate and reintegrate. This Sunday on Eye on Dependency, Garth and Natasha speak with the Acting Chief Probation Officer, Francis Turton Long, and Acting Assistant CPO, Jason Chatagoo, about the role of the Probation Services Division in the criminal justice system. Listen live from 10 a.m. on I-95.5 FM, or watch live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page or YouTube channel. Eye on Dependency. We don't just share stories. We change lives. We change lives.
Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays at 10 a.m. and exclusively on 95.5 FM.
And streamed live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Good morning, happy Sunday morning. Welcome to Iron Dependency. I'm Natasha.
Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. I'm Garth, and thank you very much for joining us again this morning for another interesting and educational, of course, program on Iron Dependency. And this morning we are going to speak with the Probation Division now. It's a division that has been doing very good work quietly behind the scenes. You don't hear them very much in the media, but today you are going to hear a lot more about the Probation Division. A number of you out there have, inquired about this division, and some of you never even knew that we had a probation division. So you will hear all about them this morning, the work that they do in tandem with the prison, and of course in tandem with the Ministry of National Security. So again, folks, we are faced with a situation in Trinidad and Tobago. It's very troubling. We are losing too many young people in Trinidad and Tobago. And I want to echo the sentiment on behalf of our independence, echo the sentiment of the Prime Minister yesterday. It is a national crisis. It has grown into that. And for some reason, some of us are so numb, so immune. But if we have to preserve our generation, if we have to preserve what we term now the African race, because this is what is happening. It's right before our eyes. It's in plain sight. So there is no pussyfooting or soft soaking or buttering it up. It is real. And it is a crisis, and we cannot continue to be losing young men below the age of 25, especially in the spiraling manner in which we are doing it. It is a crisis.
So we can't wait until these situations reach to the attention of the police before we decide to address them. So it requires a little more homework, a little more investigation, a little more digging deep into how we as a society want to coexist, want to relate to each other, to raise our children and develop our communities to be strong and resilient.
But you, the adult, who giving your children drugs to use, you, the adult who indulging your children in alcohol use, you, the adult who giving your child drugs to take to school to sell, you are part of it too. And if you are listening this morning or you know someone who's doing that, let them know that they are part of the crime situation. It's a domino effect. And Dependency received, answered phone calls from last week as yet. But we have a number of young people below the age of 25 using drugs already. But when they cannot pass their exams, you notice what happened with the C results this year. According to the release from the Ministry of Health, it was dropped by 50%. Now, we cannot have it both ways. We cannot have young people indulging in substances before their brains are fully developed and expect them to excel when exam time comes around. We cannot have it both ways. And we have to go back to policing our children. The police cannot do it alone. Before they reach in the crosshairs of the police service, we have to prevent that from happening. It is painful, folks. It is painful to watch. And whether we blame the police or not, whether the police are complicit in their actions, we are constantly mopping up and cleaning and taking care of casualties. A mother sent me pictures of marijuana that her son is consuming. And if you see, and I'm not talking about the grow, cut, and dry marijuana, I'm talking about the nasty stuff. That brown-looking nasty stuff that costs $25 and up for a little fingertip of marijuana. That I'm talking about. How long Dependency have been talking about psychoactive drugs that our children have access to? How many times we brought university students here who confess that they are psychoactive drugs being sold at university level, folks? You heard it here. How many years now we've been talking about? How many years we have been warning you about ketamine and all these date rape drugs?
And lean and all these new.
How long
psychoactive
have we been talking
drugs?
to you about this?
Yep.
But we on the road less traveled. So we depend on you, those who listen, to pass on what you hear. It is frightening. And I'm not making this up. we're not being alarmist here this morning. This is going on and it's gone out. It's got out of hand. And again, we would like to join with the Prime Minister in echoing that sentiment. It is now a national health crisis and we have to do something about it. I pray that you all understand. I've been there. I've done that. When I came back, we started Dependency 20 years ago, and for the simple reason of warning you of what is to come. We begged and pleaded with Tobago. Please, Tobago, take in front before in front take you. Look what it is happening in Tobago now. Instead, we got nasty letters from Tobago telling us to mind our business, leave Tobago people business alone. But we were the first radio journalists to travel to the UK to interview a national of Tobago who was extradited for conspiracy to traffic cocaine. We did that here in Dependency when we were on Rush Street.
Simple as this way.
On Tragedy Road, yes. We were allowed into the prison to interview him. And he was working where? For an airline, our local airline.
Yep.
And he was giving people drugs to take to the UK. Look how long ago that was. Look how long ago that was. Why are we so hardened? Why? Is it because what? And we sing and we stand and we proudly sing side by side we stand. Are we really standing side by side with this? Or is it because it's not your child? You're not worried? Police, look what happened this weekend close to Republic Bank. Look what happened. And once again we calling on the police and the police commissioner, well intentioned as he is, you are going to continue to be held up to the held to the fire once your police officers are not wearing body cameras. We need to have the body cameras on these officers like yesterday. so we could give them the benefit of the doubt until the footage release, and then they will see if there was a shooter or if there was a shooting. We cannot continue like this, folks. We cannot. We are losing too many of our young men, and all the programs and social programs that are there for them. And if we kill them, how will they access it? And you notice who access these programs, right? Let me leave that thought with you while we take this break, and we come back with Miss Francis Turton-Long, Acting Chief Probation Officer, and Mr. Jason Chattergood, Probation Officer 1, the Probation Services Division. Folks, we have work to do. We have work to do. God bless you all. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Hello, my name is Marsha, and you're listening to Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha, Trinidad and Tobago. Don't dare traffic drugs. It's not worth it.
Finally, Welcome Relief comes in the form of a scientific-based program that shows us how to manage through the tough, current challenges. Called Habitalism. It features best-selling author on positivity and happiness, Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar, integrated with the award-winning Intangibles methodology of Ross. Visit habitalism.me to register now for this free life-transforming program endorsed by the United Nations established University for Peace. Gifted by Guardian Group. Live easy.
Don't become a headliner. Doing construction, picking fruit or trimming trees? Keep bamboo rods, ladders, scaffolding, roof beams, oversized material of any type, and body parts at least 15 feet from electricity poles and lines. Before doing any type of work close to overhead lines or to the point of connection to your home, and before digging where there are underground lines, contact T&Tech for a temporary disconnection so you can work safely. T&Tech, the power to make it work.
Cappy, talk to you now, boy. Well, there's more work for you to do. Make a quick 10 G's. We're going to do for me. 10 G's? What's that I'm going to do there, boy? What do you mean? Taking your boat, run up the island, pick up some people and bring them back here for me. That's all you have to do.
That's like human trafficking, boy. Why is that serious, man? I can't make that.
Trafficking in human beings is a serious violation of a person's human rights. It violates a person's right to freedom of movement, freedom of choice, freedom of speech, and freedom of identity. It is a heinous crime which affects local, regional, and international peace and security. A victim of human trafficking is subjected to many types of abuse. The crime destroys a person's dignity and self-worth. Victims often feel hopeless, are suicidal, and are stigmatized in their communities. Child victims are deprived of their rights to education, play, and social interactions. They are essentially robbed of their childhood, and that can never be regained once those years have passed. If we do little or nothing to fight against human trafficking in our country, we can face economic sanctions from international agencies and partners. Our country will be losing money. Doing little or nothing to fight against human trafficking will tarnish our country's international image and, most of all, the value we place on human life. Human trafficking is no respecter of persons. Anyone can be a victim. So let us all strive to safeguard human life and dignity in Trinidad and Tobago.
We are the Counter-Trafficking Unit of the Ministry of National Security, Trinidad and Tobago, safeguarding human life.
Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio, at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays at 10 a.m. and exclusively on 95.5 FM.
And streamed live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Today on Eye on Dependency, We're speaking with the Ministry of National Security's Probation Services Division, and we have on board Ms. Frances Tutlong, the Acting Chief Probation Officer, and Mr. Jason Chattergoon, Acting Assistant Chief Probation Officer, who will explain exactly what the term probation entails and give us an inside look at the work of the division. So before we bring these two individuals on, let us share some of their bio. Ms. Frances Tutlong, the Acting Chief Probation Officer. She joined probation in August 1993. She brings to this profession work experience from Canada, where she's qualified in the field of psychology from the University of Guelph. Ms. Long brings 29 years of commitment to the Probation Services Division and is passionate about ensuring that our underserved younger generation is heard. Her personal philosophy includes service to person, and this is displayed through her involvement with judicial officers. She's a part of the Bail Supervision Program and Drug Treatment Court. Mrs. Tutlong has helped to expand community-based support services and has success stories with unskilled clients embracing the fields that were never thought of before working with NGOs. She's also involved in the new initiative of the Ministry of National Security, the Electronic Monitoring Program, who you would have heard of on Eye on Dependency this year, which is designed to monitor persons placed on bail electronically. Mrs. Tutlong is a committed leader who serves the division in its mission to achieve the highest quality of service through offender rehabilitation, family, and community engagement. She's the mother of 5, all of whom have become self-actualized under her leadership, learning, amongst other things, to never make excuses in the pursuit of excellence and satisfaction. Her long-term vision for the Probation Services Division is for it to become more efficient at serving its clientele and the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. And Mr. Jason Chattergoon, he began his career as Probation Officer 1 in 1993 and was promoted throughout the years to the position he now holds as Acting Assistant Chief Probation Officer under the Ministry of National Security. He has experience in alternative dispute resolution, counseling, and addiction therapy. Jason is trained in the field of psychology from York University, Toronto. Throughout the years, his life goals continue to revolve around holistic development, healing, restorative justice, and positive reintegration of offenders into our society. His personal philosophy includes taking care of the emotional well-being of those whom he supervises. He's faith-oriented and believes in the power of prayer. He's been married for 25 years and he's the father of 1 adult son. He and his family are engaged in a support group designed to assist those struggling with depression, anxiety, anger, and substance abuse. His professional goal is to see the Probation Services Division under the Ministry of National Security realize its full potential as service providers in bringing comfort and service to those in need, utilizing the current resources and networking with other NGOs.
Thank you, Natasha. Good morning to you, all of you who just you're listening to Dependency. Of course, you can check our Facebook page, Dependency, join us there, or the Dependency YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and you will see it pop up, and you just click, and remember, while you're there, please like and subscribe so that you will get notifications on what we're doing coming up. Also, good morning to the 1979 batch of Trinidad and Tobago Regiment, celebrated 43 years on June 28th, and also to the first female batch of soldiers whose anniversary was the 3rd of July. Patrick Bailey, good morning. Timal, good morning. And all of you, good morning to you. Well, good morning to our guests. Ms. Frances Tutlong and Mr. Chattergoon. Good morning to you folks.
Good morning, Ms. Sinclair. Good morning, Ms. Nez. Thank you for having us this morning.
You're welcome. You're welcome. This is very timely as you play a very important role in Trinidad and Tobago in regards to our crime landscape and how you're dealing with it. So first off, for the folks listening on radio and viewing, tell us what is probation so that everyone can have a clear understanding.
So probation was established in 1947 under what was then called the Ministry of Home Affairs, which is now the Ministry of National Security. We were created by an act of legislation, the Probation Offenders Act, Chapter 1351. There is a mandatory nexus between probation services and courts of law, as the division was created to provide an alternative to incarceration for persons convicted of criminal offences in the courts of Trinidad and Tobago. And when we say courts, we mean magistrates court, the Supreme Court, the Appeal Court, all the courts in Trinidad and Tobago. That includes the family court and children's courts. Probation services, we have offices throughout the country. So let me just tell you where we have offices in Port of Spain, in San Fernando. Well, we no longer have an office we used to have offices in Princeton and Superior. But we still have offices in Point Fortin, Chihuahua, Scuba, Tunapuna, Arima, San Grande, Rio Claro, Faizabad, and Scott.
Wow. That's
1947. I would never have guessed that we had probation services for that period of time. Could you share with us what qualifies a person to be placed on probation if it's an alternative to incarceration? How does that process work?
A person placed on probation normally is the order has to be received from the court. So if a person in a criminal offense is found guilty, they can then ask for a probation officer's report, which is a biosocial report indicating to the court what went on in this person's life, their antecedents, what led them to the crime, and what are their chances of recidivating. Based on the report, the court then decide if to place this person on probation, or sometimes they just place them on probation from the bench. Once you have an order of probation, it can go from 1 year to 3 years. And during that time, you are under the supervision of a probation officer who will dictate the amount of time that you have to come in. We ensure that you are exposed to everything that you could possibly need that will prevent you from recidivism. We also work with the family because we have come to realize, well, we all know this. A person who commits a crime does not stand alone. We have to involve the family with rehabilitation to ensure that they don't fall back. We also have community service as well. Community service was introduced, Mr. Jackson, correct me if I'm wrong, about 15 years ago. Was it? And now we have this, and persons being placed on community service. So instead of now just being placed on probation, you have the alternative where you do community service, where at the end of the number of hours you've been ordered to perform by the court, your record gets expunged.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh. Repeat that, please. Can you repeat that part?
The last part.
If you have a number of hours, you can perform from 40 hours as minimum. The maximum is 240 hours. Once you complete your hours successfully, you do everything that you're ordered by the community service officer / probation officer. Your record is expunged. In other words, you don't keep that record of that conviction. It's wiped clean.
Right. So when the person applies for a police certificate of good character, they get a clean one.
Yes, right.
Right.
But listen, I would advise anyone, once they get that record expunged, they should take a copy of the order from the court to the police station and make sure they have a copy. Just to make sure that, you know, that when they apply for their COC, that there's nothing on their record.
Okay, so it takes a while before it ends up in the police record.
Sometimes, yes.
It takes a while.
Yes. And I always tell people, keep records of your information because you know it works in your favor.
No, it's nice to know this because there are a number of people who are waiting on presidential pardons, and this. If you understand what I mean, it'd be nice if it could have worked as that.
This applies to community service.
Well, but yes, I know this applies to community service. So, yeah, but I was just wanting to clear that up with the police certificate of good character.
When an order is issued by the officer of the court, whether it's the magistrate, are there certain? So it's up to him or her to determine whether this case can qualify for probation, but is there a general trend or type of matter that would be referred to probation?
Mr. Chaspoon, can you take that question?
Yeah, sure. Good morning, God and Natasha.
Morning, sir.
Thank you for the excellence. Again, thank you to everyone in national security, and a special shout out to all my colleagues there who keep the midnight burning in assuring that we give best to our best. As it relates to probation is for special people. It's not a mechanism to dispose of a matter. In looking at probation, just as community service has the potential to nullify a record, probation is also a suspended sentence, meaning that once you do not reach probation, at the end of it, you are also left with a criminal record for that offense which you placed on probation.
Right.
So when a court makes a request for probation, we look holistically at the person. Again, I'm emphasizing special. We look at the circumstances under which the offense was committed. We look at culpability, remorse, minimization of responsibility. We look at the person attempting to make amends, be it in custody or be it on bail. And there are several inquiries that are done: home, school, employment. And you spoke about school, that, and it's interesting you spoke about that, because one of the things we would do, even if someone is 40 or 50 years old, we go straight back to the primary school, because we want to know at what age and what are the factors that have shaped and contributed to the behavior. And we also do a risk assessment. We use a tool, and that may come up a bit later in the interview. And based on the results of that tool, we make a recommendation that the courts, and this will be the High Court, so the Magistrates Court, they can accept or they can reject. If they accept it, then they would have to be confident that the officers would have identified areas in which the person needs to have some sort of therapy. We would have also identified how we plan to address it. We will identify the areas in which probation can act as an agency of referral. For example, if a mental health issue, we will refer to child guidance, we will refer to psychiatry. If it's a drug issue, we now have the case care management. We have some of these we have centers that are out there. We have Fort Shamrock and all the rest. I don't want to call one and not all the others, but you will be aware of them. And we make a recommendation as to the length of time that this person can benefit from the supervision of a probation officer.
All right. So that's it. So I got to hear that. So you look at predisposition as well. That is important. Wow, that's good. That's really good. Now I'm making sense to me, and this is why you're also quiet, because this is out of the box thinking what I just heard here. Especially because I was wondering if predisposition plays a role in when sentences are handed down. So you just cleared that up, and thank you also very, very much. Thank you folks for joining us on Facebook and YouTube, and we are speaking with Mr. Francis Long and Mr. Easton Chattergoon for the Probation Services Division. Now, folks, if you could give us a quick overview then of the Probation Services Division, now that you laid all that out.
What's your quick overview?
The structure and how you work and who are the
we have a Chief Probation Officer followed by the Assistant Chief. We then have Probation Officer 3s, and they are in charge of each particular area. Areas 1, 2, 3, and 4. So Area 1 supports Spain. Area 2 entails Arima, Chaguanas, and Hoover. Area 3, San Fernando, Point Fortin, Superior, and Princestown. Area 4, San Grande, Mayaro, Rio Claro. We have a Probation Officer 3 in the family court. According to the new cabinet note, we are supposed to have a probation officer 3 for children probation officers, but we have one on contract right now. And then we have probation officer 2s and we have probation officer 1s. When you come into the division, you come in as a probation officer 1. Okay. Basically, our aim is to promote rehabilitation of probationers, offenders, victims, families in crisis. We do this by empowerment, we use counseling, we use education, we use networking. I have never met a probation officer who does not know how to network. Because without networking, we will not be able to help our clients.
Well said. Well said. So I joined the people want to sign up to be a probation officer. What are the roles and functions? What are some of the things that, you know, on the ground and behind the scenes and all of that, the role of the probation officer? And you have male and female officers, right?
Yes, of course. Yes,
right.
we do.
Good.
We wish we had more male, but we don't get the applicants.
Oh, that's
Yes, no, you know, we generally females pursue this social work degree and psychology degree. We don't have a lot of males, and we wish we did. So, probation officers and community service officers, we are considered social workers of the court. And as I indicated before, we assist in rehabilitation of persons who have come before the court. Our duties as probation officers and community service officers are guided under several pieces of legislation, which include Probation of Offenders Act, the Children's Act, Family Law, Domestic Violence Act, Community Service Orders Act, the Children Authority Act, the Adoption of Children's Act, Children's Community Residences, Foster Care Nurseries Act, and Family and Children's Division. So that when a probation officer gets involved in a matter, any recommendation that is done has to be within the law. So the main duties are, we do social history reports in both criminal and family matters. And when I say family matters, whether it be in legal custody matters, whether it be in domestic violence matters, whether or not it's a fit person's order, they ask for reports, and once they ask for a report, they ask for reports for access, they ask for reports for maintenance. Once a report is requested of a probation officer, they do it to assist the court in determining the matter. What are our core rules? Prepare pre-sentence reports. So those are reports that must be submitted to the court before the court makes a decision as to how to sentence a person. We do suitability reports on offenders who are being considered for probation or for community service. We supervise and counsel offenders who are placed on community service and those placed on probation. As I indicated before, we prepare reports. We also make we also compile reports when necessary, when we recommend recommendations for committals to orphanages, community residences, etc. And that's part of it. We counsel. We go out into schools. We prepare lectures for schools. We see walk-in clients. It's you know, a lot of things that we that just can't be just put in order. If I started to itemize everything that we did, I basically would talk out the rest of the interview. We assist our clients who are in need. If they come in, they don't have food, or they need help with books. Once they're our clients, we assist them with those items. So we do a lot of things that are guided by the law acts of this country, but we also do a lot of things outside of the acts of this country. Because when we have clients in need, we must do what we have to do.
So this, the Probation Services Division, you actually contribute to the fight against crime.
Yes, we do. We are part of the fight against crime. You just don't hear about us.
And in that vein, I wonder how many, if you could give us like an estimate of how many persons would have accessed the service, probably not since 1947, but at least in the last, 5-10 years, maybe if you could give us a sense of how many people would have gone through your tours.
I can't give you that direct figure. What I can tell you, for the last year and a half, probation officers have done upwards of over 1,000 reports for the court.
Right.
I can tell you that I am supervising 120 young men on bail. I can tell you that community service officers have prepared over 700 suitability reports. I can tell you that they have upwards of 1,000 persons based on community service. So it's a service that is utilized because once you work in the court, they're aware of it. And there are some magistrates, there are some judges that are very probation friendly, so they really rely on us for everything. And we thoroughly enjoy it because that's what we're there for.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency, and we are speaking with personnel of the Probation Services Division. And you can still, if you listen to us on video, good morning to you. You join us on YouTube and Facebook. We thank you very much.
And we apologize for the audio. I think some people are having some issues hearing you, Mrs. Turtlong. Are they getting some either feedback on echo or it's not coming across too clearly?
So if you have a fan on where you are or something.
I'm going to try another device.
All right, so let's take a break while you do that, and we'll come back and rejoin the conversation.
Yes, stay right there. We'll be back, folks. And of course, we will be giving you the opportunity to ask questions. So please, in the meantime, if you have any questions, you can write them down, and we'll give you the opportunity to ask the questions to our guests. All right. So we'll be back. Stay right there.
Morning. Listen now. Has noticed something out. Them people about the road. Where's that? Girl, the man that he passing up and down in front of here with that woman. I really noticed some woman living there, you know. And they can't even say as much as good morning. Well, listen now. I wonder if it's human trafficking. You think it's that?
So, how can you spot and identify perpetrators and victims of trafficking? Many victims are found living and working together in the same place and sleep in shared and inappropriate spaces. Victims work excessively long hours. They often sleep in the daytime and work long nights. They are often escorted everywhere they go and may appear to be malnourished. They may show signs of physical abuse, drug and alcohol use, and may also appear withdrawn, fearful, or intimidated. Victims who are migrants are often not in possession of their identity or immigration documents and have irregular immigration status. Perpetrators can be male or female and may appear to be managing or controlling the victim. And they may even at times appear to be the victim's best friend, boyfriend, or employer.
We are the Counter-Trafficking Unit of the Ministry of National Security, Trinidad and Tobago, safeguarding human life.
Finally, Welcome Relief comes in the form of a scientific-based program that shows us how to manage through the tough, current challenges. Called Habitalism. It features best-selling author on positivity and happiness, Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar, integrated with the award-winning Intangents methodology of Ross. Visit habitalist.me. Register now for this free life-transforming program endorsed by the United Nations established University of Peace. Gifted by Gotti Group. Live easy.
Don't become a headline. Doing construction, picking fruit or trimming trees, keep bamboo rods, ladders, scaffolding, roof beams, oversized material of any type, and the body parts at least 15 feet from electricity poles and lines. Before doing any type of work close to overhead lines or to the point of connection to your home, and before digging where there are underground lines, contact T&Tech for a temporary disconnection so you can work safely. T&Tech, the power to make it work.
Okay, thank you for staying with us, folks. You're listening to Dependency, and we are speaking with two officers of the Probation Services Division, Ms. Francis Tatum-Long, Deputy, or Acting Chief Probation Officer, rather, and Mr. Jason Chattergoon, Acting Chief Assistant Acting Assistant Chief Probation Officer 1, who is taking us through the paces there of the Probation Division and what they offer Trinidad and Tobago and what they do. Before we go to our next question, I just want to ask this, folks, and any one of you can answer. So I go before magistrate, probation is granted, if that's how it works. Then what am I to do after that? Do I have an officer sent to me? I have to report there, or every time the officer calls me, I have to answer my phone. I have to be on the ball at times because can it be rescinded? Because through that.
What are the responsibilities of the person on probation, basically?
Okay, I'll start to answer the question, and hopefully the Francis can take over after. So the person is placed on probation, and that is called an instruction to probationers. Now, those instructions, most of the time, contain conditions of your probation that would either come from the magistrate or judge, or it would come from conditions that the probation officer would have recommended in the report. For example, we have our community service officers who try so diligently with the avoiding of recidivism. So initially, they may have said, before sentencing, we would like those who are been under the influence with drug influences attend some meetings, AA or NA, or there's another group called Living Victoriously, or attend other types of workshops, Arrive Alive, and based on the change or the attitude, because what we try to use the cognitive behavioral therapy model, which is if we could change your thinking, chances are we could change your behavior. So those conditions would be encapsulated in that order. That order is sent to patients. It is assigned to a probation officer. More than likely, the officer preparing the report will be assigned, but it's really up to the supervisor of that office, of that particular office, to assign the matters. The person placed on probation is contacted through telephone, and a physical interview with the person. In the case where the person is an adult, we may ask that person together with a spouse or parents, invite them to be there depending on the living arrangements, or in the case of a minor, would traditionally get the permission. However, we now have children probation officers and they deal with that aspect of it. So the first step is to have them come to the office. Then that instruction to probationer is given to the probation, and that document should be kept as careful and as safe as you would keep your passport or your driver's license or anything that is close to you, because it means something for you later on. The acting chief would have mentioned the request for a police certificate of character. That could be a tool that is used to initiate proceedings where documentations are lost. Once these conditions are explained, the frequency of reporting is established either by virtue of instructions from the court, or in most cases, the court leaves that condition open, reporting and other conditions by the terminology as directed by the probation officer. That gives the probation officer the opportunity to reasonably, and I want to emphasize the word reasonably, because we are all human beings, we all work. And as I speak about work, in the initial investigation, I did not mention that if someone is employed, we do not go to their workplace and inquire information about them, the possibility of giving information to an employer that could jeopardize the person's employment. So we work at a reasonable coming office. There's a short-term treatment plan that is set up in that file, and that treatment plan is revised over time. there's a lot of counseling involved in probation. And I wish I could call the names, but there are so many officers who believe in the process of counseling for walk-in clients, domestic violence clients, people who are abused. Coming out of those instructions as well would be simple things like if we recognize a person can't read or write, we recommend them to the altar classes. We send them little programs such as the Thinking for Change. We have our own in-house programs for self-esteem, anger management. What we have found, Garth and Natasha, is that a lot of people are unable to move on simply because of unforgiveness. And the probation officer, being an agent of intervention, is able to recognize that even from the onset and to bring the process of recovery. Because sometimes we realize even with some of the crimes, it's only when they can release and forgive and be forgiven, then the healing really begins. So that process continues. The short term, the long term is changed over a period of time, depending on how the person is reacting to the supervision. And at the end of that probation period, this is what we expect. We expect to see that the person who was placed on probation is radically different and transformed from the end product. That comes by way of personal relationships, interpersonal relationships, jobs, your relationship in the community, the spiritual component as well. And as I said earlier before, probation is also a suspend center. What we do, we provide them with a certificate of completion, and we encourage them at that point to apply for a certificate of character. Sometimes things happen, and the probation department tries to assist where we can in informing law enforcement that they always, and these are the results of certain laws if they can amend what is written on the certificate of character. And that's basically the procedure from the time an order is made to when a person ends probation.
Very comprehensive. Very comprehensive. Mr. Long, because you today you have to work too, so I know you have to rush off in a minute to continue the good work of the division. So we will kind of take you for the last 10 minutes, and then we'll continue with Mr. Chattergoon because he would have some questions to answer from the public. So, but you all.
Thank you, sir.
We cover key initiatives, and I don't know if we covered most of it already, but you all collaborate with other organizations. Tell us about that.
Okay, so in moving forward as probation officers, we found that there was no way we could do everything that we needed to do on our own. We started to collaborate, not just with other ministries. Probation officers, as I indicated before, we now prepare the reports for electronic monitoring to assist the court in determining if somebody is a person that can be placed on electronic monitoring. We work with NGO, that's incredibly important. We work with Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous. One of the NGOs that I have worked with in the past is the Core Foundation. They have assisted in building programs for our young men and women who just needed that guidance, that were just a little bit out of the reach of probation officers. Probation recently started case care management. That is a program where it is geared to the person who has an addiction issue. They are now exposed to all aspects of counseling with the assistance of every ministry, every agency at their disposal. The case for bail supervision, it was started in 2001 by the then Justice Anthony Carmona. He expressed frustration at seeing young men just sitting in jail for years and not being exposed to anything. He asked for a probation officer. It happened to be me, and we developed this program, which was taken over by Justice Malcolm Oldham, who did amazing work over the years before his ascension into the appeal court. And now we have Justice Jack, who's the leader of that. So there are other initiatives. Thinking for a Change is a program that the probation officers developed to able to help, as Mr. Chattergoon indicated, to affect that cognitive behavioral aspect. Change how you think so we would affect how you behave. So these are some of the initiatives that probation officers have come up with. We have probation officers who have developed anger management program. I know she's listening on right now, and I just want to thank you, ma'am. We have another community service officer that developed a program to assist young with self-esteem. So, sir, there are programs that are being developed by the officers based on our experiences, based on their knowledge and their degrees, and this is what we're doing. So at no point do we ever sit there and say, oh my God, we don't have a program that works. We develop programs to assist.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency, and we are speaking with Ms. Frances Turton-Long, Chief Probation Officer, Acting Chief Probation Officer, and also Mr. Jason Chattergoon, Acting Assistant Chief Probation Officer 1. And down this program, folks, in keeping with our health and education, we're going to show you 2 videos on vaping and what it's doing to young people, and a warning from a youngster who had his lungs collapsed on him twice. Vape. We'll turn that later on, but for now, we have some questions to folks on that we'll throw to you before. From 1 or 2 posters on Facebook, they are asking some pertinent questions, and we hope you all can answer it.
Sure.
Yeah, I just wanted to get a little more, information about the care case management. We had a photograph up earlier about the mentors that were trained. Could you tell us a little bit more about that project? Because that kind of falls within our wheelhouse in terms of drug use disorders and how the persons who have drug use disorders are treated in the courts. So could you expand a little bit on case care management project?
Sure. The case care management project, it started this year. And once a person has been identified as having an addiction issue and their matters are completed, they are a probation officer. The project seeks to enhance coordination among the justice, health, social, and other systems to streamline the services that our clients who have substance use disorders to make sure they get the best service that they can. And now programs and and the Organization of the American States. So we got the help with regard to setting up that program. And it's working. It's so far we very careful about the persons that we allow into the program. There's certain qualifications, matters have to be complete, no time, there are obvious reasons, and no underlying mental illnesses. So that's initially. Once the pilot is over and they can do their assessment and their evaluation, they will then include persons who have mental illnesses, because we have Ministry of Health on board. But that's primarily to deal with the addiction issues.
Right. And you work in tandem, I would assume, with the drug treatment courts in this regard?
Yes, ma'am. Well, I am the probation officer assigned to the drug treatment court in San Fernando.
Right.
And whereas the drug treatment court deals with persons who have ongoing matters, the case care management is for those who have completed their court matters.
Right. So follow-up care, aftercare kind
yes,
of
ma'am.
scenario.
Yes. And that is one of the issues that we have, the aftercare. And what Mr. Chattergoon to mention, because we've noticed the trend, Garth and Natasha, with regard to substance abuse, we do random testing of our clients.
How is that done? You have a designated at the drug treatment court itself?
Well, we used to have testing kits across the border. We have testing kits at the offices so that we can test our clients.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's helpful. I mean, we have recommended that parents, utilize that technique with their children as well. And for you, trying to manage people's lives and their drug use as well, which can lead to more serious issues. That's an important tool for you to manage their cases.
No. Before you, we want to throw a question
and
to you.
And it also helps us to get plan.
Yes.
Yes.
Of course.
So we have a question for you from one of our Facebook posters. Natasha, you want
Yes, he asked, does the juvenile probation or the officers who are that work with juveniles, do you work with dropout and truancy students, and what type of services do you offer those families?
One,
yeah, go ahead.
okay, the children probation officers are attached to the children's court.
Okay.
The children probation officers, are you all hearing me?
Yes, yes.
The children probation officers are children probation officers are attached to the children's court. They will deal with anyone that comes through there. If anyone has issue with a child that is not attending school and they need help, they can carry them to the children's court for access to the children probationers, or they can come into the other probation officers in any district and listen, I have a child, I need help, please help me. I will not say that there is a set plan. We have to assess the situation before we can develop a treatment plan for that particular individual.
Well, I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah, because there are a lot of
I mean, happy.
Because people perhaps may not be, because I am concerned that the court system is a bit, it may be a bit intimidating for some people to go there first as the first port of call. You may not want to involve police, you may not want to involve court, but as far as probation is concerned, that is the direct line. Or can people come directly to the probation offices to access services, or do they have to go through the court?
No, ma'am, they can come directly to the probation officer.
Okay.
We see first referred from other agencies. Sometimes somebody has applied for social welfare and they come in and start to talk to the social welfare officer, and they would say, you know something, I think you need some help. They refer them to probation services. We have teachers who would call and say, listen, I have a young man or a young lady, she's giving a lot of problems. I don't want her to end up in the court. Can I refer them? Of course, and we take them. Sometimes we go to the school. You know, so these are the things that can be done. So not necessarily has to come from the court.
Right, because you know, Mr. Long, I always tell parents that even though they hear me doing this program, the rehabilitation really or recovery really is up to the individual and how bad they want it. And
that's right.
Yeah, and you know, people would call me to speak with their son on new occasions, and but I'm thinking that my speaking to them will help the situation. It may help, but then I was there before. My mother called people to speak to me, and I still ended up in prison. The fact is, the journey can start with an intervention by division, and let's see, you know, that's another arm that we can look at, and I'm glad to hear that, so I could actually
refer people
to you. Your office is in Port of Spain. Can you tell us where what part of Port of Spain your office is located?
Sure. Now, first of all, let me say this. I must thank to all of my probation officers, all of our community service officers, all of our clerical staff. Thank you. Because, sir, they do yeoman service. They work, go beyond and above and beyond. But I needed to say that to make sure that my officers get their props. Nobody gives it them.
Of
Officers in Port of Spain. We have offices in San Fernando, Sangre Grande, Maya.
Oh gosh, we're losing you now.
Point.
Mr. Long, we're losing you. I know you may be on the move, so you're going in and out. Mr. Chatagoni, you want to jump in?
If in case we want to thank you very much for your time with us this morning, Miss Francis Long, Acting Chief Probation Officer. We want to echo your sentiments and pass on the compliments to your probation officers. I know how draining the work is, I understand, because you have to sit and listen. There are sometimes some parents would call and they just want to vent.
Yeah.
They just want somebody
Need
to listen to
somebody
them. And because the child is in their home and they don't know what to do with them. And we understand that. So I understand what your probation officers are going through, and say God bless you all and give you health and strength. And we just encourage you to, because we need all hands on deck now, folks. We need all hands on deck.
Before you go though, we do have a question from someone on Facebook. If you can help with this this question. An electronic monitoring system. That's one of the units that you work alongside. Can this system, or is it being used on juveniles who are currently in school?
Okay, so
Okay, Miss Longwell, I believe we would have lost contact with her.
Yes, we thank her very much for her time. Mr. Chattergoon, you can take over from here. And yes, and we'll just give you a little break after you answer this question and return. So go ahead.
Yeah, currently the electronic monitoring is for the adults only. We have not started the process of rolling out the juveniles as yet.
All right.
Okay. Folks, if you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency. You missed a lot, but you know what you can do after the program. You can always go back to our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, and you get okra with what was said up front. And remember, we have this device to show you. There are different types of vaping devices now that children are running rings around their parents with. You see your child with a vaping device and you would think it's a highlighter. Well, we have a couple stories to show you. And where you can get drug tests, where you can get testing kits. Mr. Chan, how advertise for any agency are drug test kits available to parents who want to buy them over the counter?
Well,
Yes,
most of the pharmacies.
Oh.
Most of the pharmacies.
Yeah.
Mr. Tilton, you're still there? Yes. All right. Yeah, but hold on 1 second. Mr. Chattergoon, you were saying?
Okay. Well, yeah, I know you should have answered the question. Currently, probation has access to drug testing, and we use different scales for point tests, right? 3.6 point, because we now find, and I don't want to glorify drugs. I'm not going to knees on this section, but we find that there is a type of negative creativity in the use of certain drugs, and our tests are becoming more and more advanced to pick up certain types of usage.
Well,
most drug kits can be available through the regular pharmacies that parents can go in and purchase.
No, Mr. Chattergoon, we on our Dependency here, we call it reality radio at its best, right? So it's not that we advertising any drug, because we have a list of drugs that we want to show the parents here too. We call it out, whatever, because you see, one time I was saying that we were flying blind, where we seen people doing funny stuff, crazy stuff, people robbing, people beating them to a pulp, children fighting. You don't know if they are juiced by something. And if it is, you're seeing a prevalence in a certain type of drug, please let us know. Please let us know.
Excellent. I'm glad. So if you recall that, years ago, children, I guess in my age, they were smelling the liquid paper, and then liquid paper became a yellowish color.
Yes.
So what they did was they added the mustard gas in it, right, to make it appeal. What we have now are children going to school with a mixture of cough syrup, codeine, 7-Up, putting it in a regular soft drink with a straw. Right, there's a name, it's Sloopy or something like that. Right?
Lean, or purple drunk.
Right. What we also have is a lot of the children now using prescription medications, opioids, Xanax. They're becoming addicted, and our drug tests become more and more advanced to pick up that. We are also noticing a trend, and I will say, even during the COVID period, everyone was complaining about no money. But when you look at some of the gambling establishments, there was no shortage of space for vehicles to park. They were still full.
Thank you.
Right? So
Yes.
gambling, and when the NSB had to close down, you went in certain places to buy your little drink, and you saw numbers and certain languages that you can't interpret.
Yes.
You wonder.
Yes.
You
Yes.
wonder. And
Yes.
then you go into these little stores, and you see cigarettes in which you know there isn't a market for it. And I go, at least to the best of our knowledge, we don't import, we don't sell that, and you wonder where it is coming from.
There you go.
So yes, you're right. Some of us, the adults, are in fact encouraging this behavior. And I'll tell you 2 questions that I ask. I always ask someone when they prison who say, tell me something about your dad and your mom. Tell me something about your dad that when you become a parent, you will do and you will never do. Tell me something about your mom that you will look for in a wife or that you will not look for in a wife. And that is the beginning. That is the beginning of finding out what's next. When Long spoke about counseling, there is the psychosocial aspect of it. There are critical points in a child's life in which they can positively resolve some type of crisis. And sometimes you find very bright children, they run up a ladder and they get stuck and they want to move next round. In order to get them to the top of that ladder, sometimes we need to bring them back down 2 or 3 steps, right? Because they would have missed something very critical in their life. And all this is part of what probation deals with. And I'll tell you this, we don't complain. We're aware of the economy, we are aware of the challenges, and we are very, very creative in utilizing the resources that are out there. We have the FBOs, we have CBOs, and we try to turn night into day with the hope of helping our young population, because it's one thing, Garth and Natasha, we have not given up and we will never give up on our people in this country.
Right. Thank you very much, Mrs. Francis. It's your turn to exit, but before you do, and we happy Mr. Chattogun has opened this door, because now I asked our technical person here, Mr. Hinkson, to pull up all the products. Hold on, Chop, don't show it yet. We're gonna let Mr. Long up, and after the break, we're gonna come back, run through the list of drugs. So parents, I want you to see this, Mr. Titlong. Why I'm saying that?
I don't know.
Mr. Chattogun.
Francis and Jason.
Yes, Francis
That
and
might be-
yeah, Francis and Jason. Miss Francis.
Yeah, but that's a compliment, God. That's a compliment. So fix up number.
Yes, I hear what she's married. I remember, Miss Francis Titlong. Can you wrap up by telling us, what your closing comment, please, before you rush off
This
to
is what
work?
I want to say. I've been a probation officer for 29 years. I will stop when it's time for me to retire. Probation officer, I know that works in probation, we do it for the passion of it. Probation officers are poised to do everything that is necessary within the laws to ensure that our clients' needs are met. As I said, we office at every magisterial district. You go to a court, if you don't see an office, just ask anyone of the court, where's the probation officer? They will direct you. Go on the Ministry of National Security website, go under departments, you should see probation officer, and it would have a listing of our numbers. The number postpaid 623-8248. The number in San Fernando is 653-0123. So even if you're in an outer area, if you call those other numbers, they will be able to help you to get onto the other numbers.
Lovely, Miss.
Tasha and Garth, I must thank you very much for this morning.
You are so welcome.
I'm leaving you all in the very capable hands.
Yes, we can see that. We can hear that. He's on the game. He knows his onions, and we're going to continue with him on all the way up to 12.
Yes.
So thank you once again, Miss Francis Long. All the best to you. And have fun at the Probation
And do
Services
keep in
Division.
touch.
And keep in touch,
Remember,
please.
we are available for any kind of advice or information that you want to share with the public. We are happy to do so.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your service. Have
God
an
bless
absolutely
you.
wonderful day.
Thank you for your
You too.
service as well. Take care. All right, folks. So that was Miss Francis Turton Long, Acting Chief Probation Officer of the Probation Services Division. Folks, thank you for just joining us. You're listening to Independency. And you can remember while you're on YouTube, you can like and subscribe channel that you will keep you abreast of what we have and what programs to come. After this break, Mr. Chattergoon will be with us, and we're going to show you again the list of drugs that we have lined up. We're going to have a feature on the vaping. We want you to see it, parents especially, because as I said, a vape pen right under your nose and you wouldn't know it's a vape pen.
Before we do that, though, I want Mr. Chattergoon, if you can, just briefly tell us what qualifications does one need to become a probation services officer? What are the kinds of individuals you're looking for?
Yeah, well, love and compassion. All right, that's actually that's really the truth, commitment, love, and compassion. But academically, you need to have at least a first degree in any one of the social sciences from an accredited university, and social sciences would include social work, psychology, criminal justice, sociology as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chattergoon. Stay right there. Take a sip of water because we have some drugs to swallow when we metaphorically, of course. And we really want parents to be on their guard. Mr. Chattergoon, our children are up against it. I listened to the National Security Minister on just Friday, and who spoke about some things that was handed over to him by a parent. And when parents now looking out for marijuana and looking to do the smell test, children going past that smell test, some of them, and below the age of 25, most of them, their children are as old as 11. We got a call from parents screaming out for help because the child's father gave him drugs to use. And I do not
know, God, I liaise with the psychiatric social workers, and I'll say this before the break. And they have said to me, they have so many people in Ward 1 in use marijuana for the first time.
Yes.
First time. And I'm not talking about marijuana laced and kush and all these different things.
Normal
marijuana. And they go into marijuana-induced psychosis.
Yep.
And you know the challenges we have in our health system as I speak.
And most of the time when we ask the parent is mental ill health running in your family, and chances are either the grandfather or the grandmother or father, they had mental ill health, and it was passed on from one generation to the next, and it sometimes catches up with one. So one of our advice to parents now is have discussions with your children about your family, your DNA, and all of that makeup. Have you all discovered that too as well, about the generational passing on from one generation to the next?
There seems to be a disposition for usage as well as the criminal behavior, and we call it the criminal social standing of the family. In considering any recommendations, we find out, was the father in prison, a mother in prison, in the absence of father, who was the significant male, and was that person incarcerated as well, because there is a tendency for the families in which incarceration seems to be a pattern of behavior, for the people in lives, and that was in which it is considered normal, and that makes the challenges of counseling, all the more difficult, if I may use that word. The last I will say before the break is, remember, we see someone a couple times a week, and what we have found is what is said and done there is undone in the environment in the home.
Thank you.
So counseling is not only geared at the person, it is geared holistically towards the family. And when there's an unwillingness, when there is a parent who says, do as I say, not as I do,
thank you, Jesus.
Then you know where we're headed with that type of discussion.
Mr. Chattergoon, you're giving you're
preaching there.
Wow, Mr. Chattergoon, God bless you. Because I've said it many times. I've been invited to speak with children, and I end up telling the principal, we need a camp for parents too as well. Because these children going back to the same environment that we're trying to protect them from. and it's like spinning top in mud, really. Let that quickly. You go through the list of drugs with you. You tell us if you came across any of these in your work, and parents, please pay attention. There's a crisis we have on our hands, and we endorse the Prime Minister on this one. We'll be back. Stay right there. Oh, Jesus.
Don't become a headline. Doing construction, picking fruit or trimming trees, keep bamboo rods, ladders, scaffolding, roof beams, oversized material of any type, and the body parts at least 50 feet from electricity poles and lines. Before doing any type of work close to overlines to the connection to your room, and before digging where there are underground lines, contact Check for a temporary disconnection so you can work safely. T&T Tech, the power to make it work.
It is traffic. I think that's a serious thing in a way.
Traffic. I thought it's only human trafficking it have.
But what do you mean?
No serious thing, where you get that from? I know about human trafficking, you're about sex trafficking.
So how can you spot and identify perpetrators and children who are victims of trafficking? Many victims who are children do not look like under 18 years old. Child victims often move escorted around alone or in small groups. They also live in shared and even packed rooms and have very little clothing and belongings. Child victims are often seen with adults who are not their parents, their relatives, or their caregivers. Migrant children are often unaccompanied and separated from their parents. Child victims are often engaged in work that is not suitable for children. They are often deprived of their freedom to go to school, to play, and to enjoy being a child. Perpetrators have unexplained sources of income and possessions. They are businessmen and businesswomen running legitimate and illegitimate businesses. Perpetrators may appear to be the victim's friend, boyfriend, relative, employer.
We are the Counter Trafficking Unit of the Ministry of National Security, Trinidad and Tobago, safeguarding human life.
Finally, welcome relief comes in the form of a scientific-based program that shows how to manage the tough current challenges. Called Capitalism. It features best-selling author on positivity and happiness, Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar, integrated with the award-winning Intangents methodology of PROS. Visit capitalism.me. Now, this free life-transforming program endorsed by the United Nations established University for Peace. Gifted by Guardian Group. Live easy.
Ion Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio at its best, wherever life is a biography.
Sundays at 10 a.m. and exclusively on I-95.5 FM.
And streamed live on the Ion Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Thank you for staying with us. Folks, there's something that we must drive to do. The opioid crisis, the all these what we call Zessa pills and all of these things. Our children have access to that. It's $100 for a pill. $100, yeah. Well, it probably go up by now. Yes, Gary, that's the price. Good morning to Mr. Baidali. I'll ask you a question before we wrap up. Let's go through this list of drugs, folks. Mr. Hinkson, could you start with what we have there, and then we'll go to the feature. That's a good little bit.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Right. So, Mr. Jason Chattagoon, Acting Assistant Chief Probation Officer, is with us. And so let's look at this one. The opioids, And you just heard Mr. Chattergoon speak about fentanyl and codeine of the product lean. Now, Mr. Chattergoon, who would have thought that the simple cough syrup in your medicine cabinet and this Sprite and another soft drink, that was when we raised that about that when we were on Trackreed Road. The lady's dog was suspended for using lean in a primary school. Who would have thought that this product, as simple as it is, could now cause harm? And this was made famous by Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne glorified lean, purple drunk. He couldn't. Well, look at Lil Wayne now, and you'll see the results of abuse of lean. But this is what you spoke about a while ago, right, Mr. Charagoon?
It is, and you know, Gat, I'll tell you this, sir. You go into one of those drug stores where they have an unethical pharmacy. We have a good system, we have unethical. And I'll tell you this, you say I can't sleep, and rather than say try a little chamomile tea or maybe a little melatonin, you say no, I'm going to give you some Xanax. Now Xanax, the doses for Xanax, and I'm no medical doctor, is started at a quarter of a Xanax, and that is medically prescribed. They will tell you take one. And the intent of some of these unethical pharmacists are to get you hooked and addicted to the drug so that you keep coming there. And they charge you, Xanax is $10, so one at the last price. I know now when you buy it, it's making $20. So some of the unethical pharmacists are making tons and tons of money over people, and the result is addiction, and as a result, the ill effects of it on our own society. And I know Drug Inspectorate, I know Customs and I know the TPS are trying, but I'll tell you this: if we had to police, and as I tell my clients in counseling, sometimes we're looking for a legal solution to a social problem, right?
Yes.
So we can't have a policeman in every pharmacy. We can't have a policeman at some point in time. Come on, Trinidad and Tobago, we need to take responsibility for our actions. We need to be better parents. And if you want to put it from a spiritual perspective, go back to our first love. Go back to the arms of God and ask Him. Therapy is good, meditation is good. He is still our healer.
Let's look at marijuana edibles, Mr. Chattergoon. This is the next slide here. This looks so harmless. Look at this nice looking chocolate brownie. Look at this beautiful looking cookie. Look at it, jub, and what they call jub, but you know, yes, look lovely. Oh, somebody will give your child that, and unsuspecting they would eat or sell it to a child, and unsuspecting they would eat an entire brownie, not understanding.
Because this could happen to adults too.
Yeah, and I understand they started serving them in parties. You know, people drink alcohol, and somebody pass around with a waiter full with brownies for you to take one. It looks so good. You remember when you're drinking alcohol, you get hungry.
And the dangerous part about it is that you don't know how much THC is in these
products. Edibles.
Yeah. So if you don't know how to consume it, meaning taking little bits at a time and not the entire cookie or brownie, then you're gonna be in problems.
Yeah, I've heard people said that, it feels like coming close to death when they ate a brownie. Yes, a friend of ours called us one night, totally disoriented because she ate a cookie she didn't her son put there, and she didn't know. She thought it was a cookie, and she ate the whole thing.
Panic attack.
Well, boy, if you hear this lady beg for help, and she had to go to the hospital. She checked us there because she just was not, pulling where she was. She started getting disoriented, and folks, this is what your children are exposed to out there. Now we're looking at crack cocaine, and I'm so glad we could do this, folks, on radio. I know how it is, but sometimes instead of us trying to explain what it looks like, we can actually show you now, and I thank God for media, social now that can afford us this, so we could stay a step ahead of people who trying to induce these on your children and force your children to take these. Now, Mr. Chattergoon, we've heard that they're mixing marijuana, mixing cocaine with marijuana and giving unsuspecting people to use.
Yeah, but God, even before you reach there, I remember in university seeing a young guy run out, and this is in 1990. He ran out of the university with his nasal cavities hanging out, bleeding.
That's right.
Right? And it was a good high for him because what he thought, the more damage, it's the better the grade of the cocaine. And what he doesn't know, right? What he doesn't know and what people don't know is they're taking the lowest class of crack cocaine.
Yeah.
Taking fluorescent bulbs, people. Let me
Yes.
say it again. Fluorescent bulbs with the powder in it and the glass and crushing it. So when you inhale that up your nose and that glass cuts your membrane and you get the bleed, you're thinking is good product.
That's right.
Right? And they don't care. They just don't care.
Sherry Zephyrin, we thank you very much. She says, very educational. I have my 13-year-old son listening. God raise us. At least we could reach one person this morning with their son. Thank you very much, Sherry. This is what the pills look like. The mixing ecstasy and cocaine.
And this is what
according to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service.
This as a pill contains cocaine and ecstasy.
Yes, and $100 for one, maybe $125 by now. And you have artists in this country here, you know, as or DJ here
promoting it,
and promoting it, and young people following. And as I keep saying to them, you cannot unpop a pill, you cannot unsmoke a joint. Once you put it in the system, you have to ride with it until it comes to an end. And some people crash as a result of that. The ketamine that you hear the minister spoke about, there are people who working in tandem with bartenders. You know, sometimes they tell you don't leave on a, well, sometimes you have to watch the bartender too, because he can slip a drink, a pill, which is colorless and odorless in a drink, and an unsuspecting young lady can drink that, or young man, because there was a story just recently about a man taking a young lady home, total stranger. When he woke up, car gone, money, because again, she probably would have slipped something in his drink. Folks, young people, I mean, we have to apologize to you, but this is the time and place that you're in now. I'm sorry, but this is it. And let's go to the feature, short man, on the vaping now, right? Let's finish off with that one, and then Mr. Chattergoon continue, unless he could probably take some calls from the listening audience who have any questions for him. Folks, we have a feature for you now on what about vaping, Mr. Chattergoon? The probation services have any position on that?
Now, what we are getting, vaping, if it's nicotine, we try to also let people know that there's a danger associated with nicotine. When vaping involves cannabis use, right? We have a bit of a dilemma, because what we're hearing from our clients, even what I hear from us, from my support group, is that, well, society says that marijuana is decriminalized. Now, what we try to let them know is that even though our law says something decriminalized, it may not be in your best interest. I say, take for example, if marijuana is decriminalized and you are working offshore and you test positive for marijuana, what do you think is going to happen to you? You're going to lose your job, right? So
you're going to lose your job for sure.
There's a delicate balance that we have now that we have this decriminalization mandate. So it is really on teaching, it is really on education, and we try, as Ms. Long said, we go to the schools, we try to do that from a very early period of time, inculcate a value system in the children, right? Because when you tell people that one of your clients using cocaine ran out with his 3-month-old baby, stopped a car in the middle of the road and offered to sell the child for $10, they don't believe you. That's the height at which will take you, right? When you take your mother's stuff and you sell it out there, and you take one client in the group took his mom's dining table, and took it out and sell it for a $5 rock. Well, I don't know how much it is now, right? They don't believe that drugs will take you down this path. And then they will say to us, so is there any dangerous drug? How do you look at cocaine versus alcohol? I said, let me tell you this, all of us take a bus from San Fernando to Port of Spain, and we're going to die at Port of Spain. And what determines it is we do. Some leave San Fernando, they stop Gasparillo, they look around, they come back. Some go on the bus, they stop at Freeport, come back down, stop at Chaguanas, they meet a relative, they talk. I say, but eventually they get back on that bus and they go to Port of Spain, and that is where, now I'm just using Port of Spain metaphorically, capital city, right? And that's where we die, and that is the pathway of drugs. One way or another, we are going to destroy ourselves with it. And this concept of rock bottom, God, it's amazing, what is at bottom, because for some parents, they're just enablers, and some parents just continue to be codependent. Right? So this is where the education comes on the parent. This is where we need to teach parents tough love. We need to tell them, you should love your son and your daughter too much to do what you're doing, because you're going to end their life.
Mrs. Chattergood, before you run out of time, let's go to this first video. Folks, pay attention. Those of you on radio, please listen. Go ahead.
6 people have died and hundreds more have been sick because of a vaping-related lung illness. Well, tonight we're talking to a who's every day. Time was 15 until by the age of 21 he had 2 collapsed lungs. He tells Contact 7 investigator David Clue you should not trust the claim that vaping is a safe alternative to smoking.
I would always argue how safe it was until it took effect on me.
1 year ago, self-proclaimed vaping addict suffered a collapsed left lung.
At this time, I didn't think vaping had anything to do with it, and I told him that, so I didn't stop.
No, he did not.
I liked the clouds, the nicotine.
Then this summer, his love of vaping collapsed along his right lung.
My chest just got really tight, and then I felt a sharp pain come through my back up to my chest.
His choice of whether to quit had been flanked by his addiction.
Now I believe it's vaping because it's the only thing I'm doing.
His 6 days in the hospital costing his family $1,000, cost him 30% of that right lung. A smoker gets the benefit of years of coughing, loss of taste and smell, warnings that something worse is on the horizon. But for vapors like Kyle, symptoms don't include a heads up. And we could be years from understanding why.
And we know more information about exactly what ingredient is in the vape juice that's causing these deaths or serious illnesses. The best advice is to stay away from vaping.
That's terrible news for the vaping industry, still untested, unregulated, and now under tremendous scrutiny. Still 40% try vaping. Half of those were still vaping this month. Kyle Lanos sees that kind of statistic and pictures an entire generation clouded by false claims and fancy flavors, only to see the true costs coming into focus far too late.
We have our whole lives ahead of us. We're going to end up on oxygen in our 20s, 30s.
That was David Clue reporting.
Lady, now with this device, and look at how much smoke, and making it look so attractive.
Yes.
Other young children will want to try it. Look at it.
And this is the age group that the persons who manufacture these devices are marketing to. They're marketing to young people. They are selling it as an alternative to smoking. They're not saying that it's more dangerous than actually smoking a cigarette. That's what they're not saying, because they don't disclose what is contained within the vape pens.
Look at
the
she's
liquid
so proud
that
of herself.
burns that to produce this kind of vapor.
And she's
This
so proud of
amount.
herself.
Yeah,
And you know who went out of the bill? The parent.
of course.
When
When,
the
they
lungs
end up
collapse.
in hospital.
Yeah,
And
the
they can't
parents
breathe.
know. That's right. The parents now have to be running here and there and everywhere to try to figure out what happened to my child. She can't breathe all of a sudden, drop down playing football or netball or, you know, and they don't know what caused it, and they wouldn't say, you know.
And it
children,
is a fact that young people do believe that it is safer than smoking. And they believe
Yeah.
this because that is what their peers are telling them.
Now listen to this, folks. Mr. Chatagun, you're there, right? No, Mr. Chatagun?
Yes. Yes.
Right.
I'm here.
Now listen to this. And I have to say to grandparents too. You are enablers because a story came to us, person came home by us and told us that how he started vaping is his school friend went away with his grandmother on holiday. They were walking, you know, out there, it's more liberal, and the grandmother he asked the grandmother to buy vape instruments for him, and she did. Came back home with it, and he took it to school and
To show off
with his friends. Teacher called them. They're not getting suspended, of course, but they didn't call the parents. They didn't call everybody together to let them know, you know, this is something that
When it the
children.
all this, and
Yeah.
why do you think it's a cool thing to do?
You understand what I'm saying? So, Mr. Chatagun, you all, the Probation Services Division, have a lot of work to do on their hands. And before we go to the lines, someone wanted to find out, Mr. Vidali wanted to find out if you all go to schools and do lectures.
Yes, we do.
He joined late,
Well-
so I just wanted him to hear.
So prisons can request that through the Probation Services Division. You could write or email. And,
Yeah, they would need to
inquire.
write. They would need to make that request through the office Chief Probation Officer.
Yes.
Who, yes, who would then look at what is being asked for and assign an officer who the Chief Probation Officer believes, you know, to be a best fit to do that type of lecture.
All right, so let's open up the line. 622-3937, 622. If you have any questions, what are some of the achievements in recent times? Can you just name a couple of them, or a few if you can? And
Achievements of the
yes, of the division, and because you already how one can become a probation officer, you could also have that repeated. But if you all already have any questions for Mr. Chatagun, you can call us at 622-3937, and we have some messages on Facebook that you can also there are messages on Facebook that you can also. We have a question? We have a caller? Good morning.
My son. Congratulations.
Hello, morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, morning again, you know?
Yes, hearing you.
Yeah, right. No, I ain't gone too long, about less than 10 minutes, and I heard you all dealing with this vape. So, let me put it technically, and smoking. I know people, they brought this vape. I think I heard this story. They with the grandmother bought this thing for the child. And it's like, children nowadays, and they really need this positive outlook on life in terms of, you know, something like vaping, you know. I try to train my boys that do anything that can body, you know, that prepare their body in terms of health-wise.
Right.
And then so far they're around 16, 17, I know so far they're holding on, but, you know, anytime they get turn the corner, because right, there is trying my best to be in the right through and, you know, go here, go there. And I don't rough them up a bit. My thing is, I do something making sense. And I also tell them, I say, Daddy don't need to rough you up all last year because I send you to school and you're going to school and you're supposed the reason we're going to do it is to be literary and be able to dialogue with me. So let's dialogue, have a conversation. Nothing, if you find anything I say, I leave it up for your question. If you want to talk to me, write it up, let's chat. And that is the approach I use. And I know so far, and I know I'm trying my best to extend that type of approach to other parents who in the similar Asian challenge. And I had a challenge 2 weeks ago, two of them scramble over some basketball game after they come home. But and that never happened before, and then in church, and look how challenges come up, and they had an exam going on, so I ain't bothered them, and yesterday morning I pulled them in front of the coach, or the coach is a spiritual man, and when they start to bend their head now, because they didn't supposed to do them at there. I said, I ain't tell them what I'm going to do. I ain't tell them what I'm going to handle it. I didn't say nothing for the 2 weeks.
You sound like
right.
And I had to talk to one another, you know, shake hand because
Right.
man. And I know thanks you all for your support, and I know taking your time to really help reshape society. Because a lot of people don't even know what to do with these teenagers when they start to get some of these challenges. Bye, man.
Thank you, my brother.
And thank you for
Thank
being
you.
present for your sons as well.
Yes,
That is
yes.
important.
Yes.
Parents, I mean, you're an example, you are a father, and present and being aware and, constant communication with your children as we go.
622-3937. 622. Good morning.
Hey, hi, pleasant morning to you all.
Good morning.
Yes, very interesting and very informative and a very life-saving conversation. You all are tuning ear to ear. The gentleman, his name is Mr. Chattagoon, is it?
Jason Chattagoon, yes.
Yeah, yes, sir. I would just like to ask him a question. Someone who's totally has some experiences along those paths you all discussing this morning, right? But may not be, how to say it, educated-wise to have the certificates or the diplomas under their belts now, right? But could assist in that field, in that mission. I'm speaking about myself, right? Because I really want to be a missionary, and I have a lot of vast experience. I have some bad teeth, some bad hurdles, and God save me and take me over. Thank God I'm all washed, I'm all cleaned up, I'm all free, I am totally rejuvenated in the blood of Jesus, you know what I mean? And so I just want to know if someone like myself could come on board and assist and work alongside those wonderful people now.
Mr. Chattagoon?
That request, right?
Mr. Chattagoon, you heard the question?
Yeah, I heard the question. And, first of all, so thank you for the offer. I know what you did say was louder than what you said in that statement there. We, the Probation Services Division, from the perspective of what you said there, we do work with external agencies. They are NGOs, and we do liaise with NA, we do liaise with AA, and we also have another support group called Living Victoriously. So if a person is part of a support group in which we can get some information about, we can certainly liaise with that group and have our clients come in to them. But in terms of a one-on-one, you directly involving with the probation, we do not do that at this point in time, simply because there would be prescribed organizations under which we can interact with. But what I would like to encourage him to do is, if it was possible, to leave his phone number, that I could probably speak with him and off air.
All right.
Tell him
Sounds
something
good.
a bit. Tell him a
Sounds
bit
good.
differently.
Yes, sir. You're listening. You can you send me your number or leave your number downstairs. You can call 622-3937 and 628-4955. That's 628-4955. Leave your name and number, and I will pass it on to Mr. Chattagoon for you, and probably I will point you in a direction that you'll be able to start making a contribution to society. So thank you very much, and thank you, Showman, for putting up the pictures of these Zessa pills. So those of you interested to see what these Zessa pills look like, in case you missed it in your child bag, you never know. It's very pretty. It looked like Skittles almost, and these pretty beats. This Shortman, thank you very much for putting that up. And he's in studio with us here this morning, folks. And those of you who still are grieved by us calling him Shortman,
And I love that word, aggrieved, because
Yes.
they do seem
Oh, Lord.
to be
Yes.
more offended than
than
anybody
him.
else.
Yes. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to Gat and Natasha.
Morning.
Mr. Chattagoon and Shortman. Gat.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Shortman. Big up Shortman. He's operator. Gat.
Mm-hmm.
We up to our
Say again?
We are up next with this addiction and situation. This morning at 6:48, I was awakened to a loud noise and raucous behavior. Some youths came to our party. 90% female. These are ladies who have good jobs now. But surprisingly, they were just in their beachwear, and they had their alcoholic drinks in their hands. So, apart besides the drugs, we have called legal drugs that some people seem to have no problem with. So soon we'll have what might call social alcoholics now. So I like how Mr. Lagoon spoke, and we'll get you hands-on experience. So please continue, because we need to sensitize the youths that taking drugs is not the way out. It will destroy their social life. Thanks very much. But parents, be careful of your daughters into these pool parties, because 90% of the persons who fail and just 10% were men. And most of the men, clothes were dry. But the female, you can see that they were enjoying themselves in the pool now. Thanks very much, and have a blessed day.
Listen, we have such a population of men out there with such dirty minds that they don't care what they put in these drinks with these young women, and some of these young women just setting themselves up as bait. You know, no matter how you warn them, no matter how you ask them to be careful, they just feel, look, we want to have a good time, but then there are consequences of this thing, feeling pain all over your body, and you can't remember who touched you. If it's more than one man did it. Think about that. Natasha, just share, as Gary asked, the Zessa pills, folks. We have it up on the screen.
Those listening on the radio, Zessa pills, and we have some images up on the screen on our Facebook and YouTube feeds. Zest, a term meaning someone full of zest, energy, and vitality. Also, in the modern context, a man or woman who wears a lot of gold and bronze, right? So, according to the TTPS, Zessa pills, as you may have heard, ecstasy mixed with cocaine, and they are very dangerous, and they may be even fatal if taken with alcohol. And in any party or fete or lime, alcohol will be served. So if there's additional drugs are being served as well, like Zessa pills, there's the increased risk of harm to person who take them.
622-3937. It can stop your heart, folks. And some people, I saw a video with a man pouring alcohol down a young lady's throat.
Yes.
Pouring it, and she, like, you know, like how a bird, mother feeds the bird and the bird beak up in the end, whatever, throw food. This man is pouring alcohol down this lady's throat. 2 moments later, she was totally out of it. A few minutes after that, she was defecating on herself, lying down on the floor, and everybody filming her instead of trying to help her and laughing. You know, when she could have suffered alcohol poisoning. Hello, good morning.
Yes, pleasant morning again. The same guy who called a while ago, I'm calling to give my number now.
Okay.
Well, if I want to give it off, it's all good, you know? Yeah, give it off.
Well, that's why we're saying call 628-4955 and leave your name and number there, and we'll pass it on to Mr. Chattagood.
628-4955.
628-4955.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
622-3937. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. and Mrs.
Morning.
I'm Mr. Chattagood, and what is who is a short man? I don't know why you do. I cannot tune in later, so I hear the short man here. All I have to say is that the harvest is plenty of laborers.
Yes.
We need more laborers.
Yes.
It's not easy out there. Well, I got some good news from my doctor that my heart and my lungs is okay, you know. So at some point in time, I want to get back out there doing volunteer work, you know, with these children. And most of the time, you know, we have to hold the family. The mother's responsible. But trust me, God and Natasha, I told former Commissioner Stephen Williams, get a child, 5, get mother, she has 110. You understand? With the background and they come from abuse and all of that. So they don't have the wherewithal and capacity to continue and to help these children, you know? So that's where we, the people, have to come in now and work with them and guide them and counsel them, because it is overwhelming for most of the parents. Yes, they are
Yes.
to be held accountable. You understand?
Yes,
All right.
yes.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much,
Yvonne.
Thanks a
Good
lot.
one, okay? Right.
All right, thank you.
622-3937, 622-3937. Mr. Chattergoon, so we coming to the end of this lollipop here this morning, and again, it was really, as usual, for those listening and viewing, educational, and I think we created a little more awareness. So we take this call before we come to you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Beautiful program, Matt and Natasha.
Thank you.
Just two questions, Mr. Chattergoon. One, I want to commend them on the good work that they're doing, but I'm not hearing they are partnering and working with the bigger prison service at all, only with the court. He said that they use thinking for a change. But Mr. Chattergoon's case brought time to be therapy to probation. And again, talk about an instrument. Is it the LSCMI? And who also brought that particular factorial instrument for community correction, including probation, prisons, police, and NGOs? This question, I'm listening, but before program, Matt and Natasha.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Chattergoon, you heard the question?
Yeah, I heard the question. Now, I may be able to answer one of those three questions. Two, I may need to get back on. In terms of the prison, our interaction with people who are in prison starts when we are instructed by the court to prepare a pre-sentence report. And that will be our interaction. If that person in prison is placed on probation, then there is a continuation of the counseling, as I would have indicated. I want to believe what the gentleman is perhaps referring to is where there are requests from the courts for early release of prisoners. In this instance, the court does request some type of documentation from the probation services as to what we intend to offer if a person comes out before the scheduled time according to legislation. And that would again involve all the different factors I would have spoken to in terms of risk assessment and what is needed. That may also involve electronic monitoring, and that by itself is an entirely different process. That should answer that question. In terms of the thinking for a program, I would need to get back to him as to who initiated it and when it started. I can't remember if the third question was the LCMI or the case care management. It was the LSCMI, right? So I do know that the level of service case management inventory psychometric tool is in fact a tool that is used to calculate the risk of offending, and it goes in terms of high, medium, and low. That was an initiative in which probation officers were trained to be users of that specific tool. I also know that prisons, they are also ones that use that LSCMI to get inclusive in their biosocial report. As the initiative put it, and when it started, I will get back with you because I don't want to give incorrect information on air.
Okay. Any 622-3937. Hello. Good morning.
Morning,
Hello.
Yeah, good day, sir.
Good morning. Can you speak up, please?
We can't hear you, sir.
Taking off the radio.
Okay.
You what?
Yeah.
It's taking off the radio.
Taking off the radio.
Yeah.
Good
Go
day.
ahead. Talk a little. Speak a little louder first, please, though.
Good day, guys. And Natasha.
Yes.
You all are doing a very wonderful job. But I must admit that somehow I think you all are a lonely voice in the wilderness.
Yeah, we feel so too sometimes.
It's not sexy what we do, you know, but the people who follow us and stay with us, they prove sexy is nothing. They want to be educated, and we are happy for that, you know. But thank you very much for your compliment.
Point about it, Mr. Senpre, that we just look at these symptoms in most of these cases. And we could talk to the cows from home, but unless we get to the source in the drug dealer, these are that are pushing these drugs to the children at school and something. They have to keep at school, if not, because, you know, unless we get rid of the drug dealers, then we seem to be just
spit up in mud.
Yeah, well, if they weren't a demand, there would be no drug dealers, right?
The drug dealers have them on the run. The police have every drug dealer, every block of this thing. Have these on the run.
Yeah.
If the supply dwindles and there's no supply, then where would be demand?
Correct. You're right.
So get rid of the supply. That's if the economy, whatever. Get rid of the supply. Have these guys on the run. Lock them up. Get rid of them. Take away the drugs. Find the source of it. This is what is happening. They're not getting the drug dealers off the block. And these are the guys that they for the money. They don't care nothing about. They don't get sick.
True.
And most of them don't use. You know, the children don't use. They
are all lower on the temple because they need drugs as well.
Right. And then they are being protected too by some people who should be protecting us, but that's another story.
That's another story.
Yeah.
Indeed.
That's another story. The economy fruits on that.
Yep.
Thank you very much, sir, for your observation and your kind sentiments. We appreciate it.
And continue the good work.
Thanks.
Yes, Mr. Chattergoon.
Let me just add
thank you,
something
caller.
quickly before we run out of time. As we're talking about the topic of drug use and addiction, you know, we have something in society called the functional drug addict, the functional user. And we think about, in terms of alcohol and marijuana and the other drugs, we think about the user and the addict as people we would see at certain parts, let's say in Port of Spain or San Fernando, right? So let's say the person who's the alcoholic will say, I don't drink beer, I don't drink in Mocorapo Street, San Fernando. I drink at so-and-so place, and do you know who I drink with? I have a house, I have a 3-car garage, I have a wife, I have a child. But you know what they're not seeing, and what most functional drug users don't see? Is unmanageability in their life. And that is what determines to some extent, the addiction. And what is the formula? And I say this for those who are struggling today. You may want to stop using, but you don't know where to start. And here is the magic formula. Don't think about birthdays, don't think about Christmas, don't think about that wedding that is about to come and you stop there. The formula is this: avoid the first use, one day at a time. Yesterday is gone. Yes, there will be consequences for yesterday, but avoid the first use, one day at a time. And if one day is too much, break it down to half days. If you find your substance is alcohol, eat something sweet, right? And know your triggers. The triggers is HALT, halt. Hunger, anger, loneliness, and tiredness.
Yes.
So I'll pause there in the event there are more questions coming in.
Mr. Chattergoon, God bless you, sir. We are 2 minutes away from major news at noon with Ms. Janelle Wilson. We want to thank you very, very much. Probation Services Division, Ms. Francis Long, spending time with us here this morning and educating the public once again. We pray to God that those of you who joined us, radio, YouTube, Facebook, you were able to be educated this morning. Mr. Chattergoon, if you can visit our Facebook page, there are some questions there. I hope you can answer the people who ask, that we weren't able to get to them. But you can do us a favor or have your communication department answer some of these questions because they're very pertinent. All right. So once again, thank you, sir. God bless.
Thank you.
You need all that love and strength and support.
Thank you. And
your division.
Just a couple of seconds. Thank you to our Minister of National Security, his team, all the hardworking people, our TTPS, God protect you, all of the people in probation, the arms. And I want to say this, Garth and Natasha, God bless both of you, and may He give you the desires of your heart in accordance with the will and purpose to which He has put you on this earth. Thank you so much.
We'll end on that.
Thank you
Mr.
very
Chattergoon,
much.
receive that in Jesus' name. Thank you. God bless you. Folks, have a good week. Stay focused.